what a lovely warm welcome. I was a little bit nervous coming out today. Never quite know what you might receive, but thank you very much for that warm welcome. Wonderful to be with you here today. And as I eyeball some of you, it's great to see some familiar faces and a load of new faces in the audience. And I look forward to meeting a bunch of you later today. So I'm Murray. I'm the general manager for our UK business. And along with the eBay team, it's a real privilege to be with you today and spend a bit of time, a bunch of learning on our side, and we hope that there's some things that we can share to help you think about getting the most of the eBay platform and really dealing with this very challenging operating environment. Now, the last 12 months have been interesting. Along with the team, we've been really out on the road in a very different way than we have been before. And so I didn't get the privilege of seeing who put their hands up and who didn't put their hands up with Fergus's questions. I hope some of you have been able to attend our eBay Business Roadshow. And over the last 6 months, we've met several thousand of you as our business community out on the road talking to you about what the eBay platform can do and what it can offer. And it's been an amazing set of insights for us about the things that we need to do to improve how we run the eBay platform and the changes that we need to make on our side. We've been at 7 locations so far, and we've still got 4 more to go before the end of the year. So Cardiff, Plymouth, Belfast, I'm going to miss one. Where am I? Bristol, Belfast, Plymouth, Cardiff. I got it right? Yeah, okay, awesome. And so if we're going to be in your area, please do talk to one of the team, get your name down, and there'll be the opportunity to have some very specific conversations about more specific bits of your business and make sure that we can give you the individualized support that you deserve and need. I've left each one of those events massively inspired by you and what you achieve as a community every day. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but it's been a very uplifting event for us. It's also given me and the team a bunch of homework that we need to do. I know that we don't do everything perfectly some of the time, and I'll talk a bit about the changes that we've been making to the platform to address the ways that we need to up our game. I'm going to spend a few minutes talking a little bit about, well, what's going on in the macro environment, and hopefully I can give you just some insights around what I see going across our markets, and then specifically in the UK with UK consumers. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've launched so far and some of the things that are coming up. So let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about the context. And I realize, for many of you, that this is an incredibly challenging operating environment. I was talking to a business owner the other day, and they said to me, I've never heard the word unprecedented before, and in the last 12 months, all I hear is the word unprecedented. And so that kind of resonated with me, because I definitely feel that's the word that we use all the time. Unprecedented times. We've never been in an environment where we've had the global pandemic, we've had an outbreak of war on our doorstep in Europe, we have a high inflationary environment, and then we have a broader kind of macro context of environmental concerns, which have come back racing onto the agenda for many of our consumers in a way they never have done before, actually. And it's no secret, and we're all exposed to the media here in the UK, but those effects are actually felt more acutely in the UK across all of the eBay markets globally than they are anywhere else. And so I don't say that by way to be sinister or negative or downbeat, it's just the reality. And the reality is, for different reasons, consumers in the UK are feeling those pressures in more specific and more dramatic ways than they are in any of our other markets. And the more we see prices going up, so the dreaded monthly inflationary report that we get, that comes out in the media, unfortunately, that's a negatively correlated with consumer confidence. And you may well have seen it in the own data that you have access to, but consumer confidence has never been as low as it's ever been as long as we've got records. And so, again, it's the reality of where we're at, and it's therefore a challenging environment. And so what are consumers doing? Well, you'll see it in your sales data that you have on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and I certainly do as well. People are definitely cutting back. And what they're doing is they're going out more and they're socializing a lot more, and they're cutting back in lots of discretionary spend ways. And so Barclaycard released some new data just yesterday about credit card spending in the UK. Home and garden and tech purchases, both individually, are down in double-digit percentage points, which is quite a significant decline year on year, needless to say. People are also out there spending more socializing, and they're out more in physical stores. And so I think we've got to go through a period as we rebalance around how consumers are going to spend and behave over the next 12 months or so. What's interesting is that people's passion areas, business is still booming. So areas where you collect how you spend your free time, things that you're interested in and you're passionate about, where that is still a high degree of discretionary spend, we're finding very strong growth in those areas. And fashion, for us, is a business, as it is in the market, which has broadly remained much more robust. So athleisure is now out, and going out gear is now in. And so people are out there buying lots of fashion, and we're expecting to see that strength continue. I'll talk a bit more about that. So low confidence in home and garden electronics in particular, and then a bunch of categories where we see strength on the other side, but overall, certainly a stressed consumer environment. Now, you can see that I don't know my script perfectly because I have to wait for this prompt, and it's moving a little bit slow. Awesome, great. OK, we can move on a little bit further maybe for me. That would be great. I can't remember what comes next. Great. Now, we're also facing a challenging time in terms of our own cost of doing business. And I'm watching very closely how the government makes its moves in the next couple of days to think about how they can support you. And I'll talk about some of the things that we've got planned that we can do to support your business. And a lot of that is going to be about talking and sharing and providing insights to unlock the eBay platform and where we see those sales opportunities. So let's just take a moment to think about what we're going to be doing over the next day or so. So I had the privilege of being in Reading, and I see some familiar faces from Reading, where I was a couple of months ago at the last eBay roadshow that I was at. And I was talking with Michelle Ovens, who runs Small Business Britain. And there was some really interesting data that she showed, which was based on a kind of survey that she had done across her selling community, across the community of small businesses that she represents. Now, I'm glad to say that the survey said that 90% of the businesses she spoke to were confident they'd be in business in 12 months' time. So a fairly base kind of starting position. More positively, 2/3 of the businesses that she spoke to were feeling very confident about growth opportunities, and half of those businesses were looking for opportunities to diversify and think about where they could sell more. And so in that context, it gives me a bunch of confidence that there are opportunities out there. And I certainly see in many of the areas where we've got good supply, where we're showing up brilliantly, business is booming and doing incredibly well. I would also like just to pause, and I'm going to ask you all to participate, so warning, it's coming. I would love you all just to give yourselves a massive round of applause, because the fact that you're here and have survived the last 12 months is no mean feat. For many businesses, that isn't the case. And so I want to thank all of you for the work that you've been doing to do well in your business. So thank you very much. So let's bring it home right here, right now. And these are going to be some ways to hopefully stimulate you to think about some of the team that you're going to talk to in some of your one-to-one sessions and some of the smaller group sessions this afternoon. And these are just some things to think about. So first of all, in the room, you as a community of sellers represent about 6 million items for sale on our platform today. I find that a bit intimidating, but that's a lot of product that you've got for sale on eBay UK right today. That's amazing. You represent over £130 million worth of sales on the eBay platform in the last 12 months. So again, an amazing set of sales numbers that you're collectively achieving as a group. And you're a highly experienced bunch, which is slightly intimidating, but you've all been trading on the platform for, on average, 9 years. And so think about that networking opportunity you've got this afternoon and during the breaks to talk to one another and learn from one another, cross-category, in the same category. There are loads of ways that you can learn from one another. So here comes the teacher bit, so watch out. So over 33% of the inventory that you've got for sale today on eBay UK has not sold in the last 6 months. Now, if I was stood in a physical store, I'd kind of be looking on my shelves and be thinking, why hasn't that item sold? What can I do? And in a virtual environment, that can become difficult. And it's not always obvious on eBay, what do I do? And so the team are here, and in the specific one-to-one sessions, to give you a bunch of tips and insights around how do I get velocity on those items that haven't sold. On average, you've got just over 2 photos per listing. And the thing that's changed in the market during COVID is as consumers have bought more online, they just want loads of photos. And they just want to see loads of images. And so on average, there's an expectation to see about 10 photos, and that number just increases. When I was on stage last year, I talked about 8 photos. This year, it's 10. Consumers have one expectation, and that's only going in one direction. And so how do you meet them where they're at? And last but not least, only half of the inventory that you've got for sale today has a free shipping option. And so think about that challenge around how you think about ship costs and how you build that into the price. And again, the team are here to support you. Now, I'm just giving you those 3 insights around ways and things that you can do. And there are a bunch of other support that we can give you in thinking about driving velocity back into your business at low or no cost and where you want to invest to get the biggest bang for your buck. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about eBay and what we've been up to build some momentum back into the system in the last 12 months as we've come out of COVID. And some of the responses that we've made as a result of the feedback that you've given. And I can assure you, the team and I take the inputs that you give us incredibly seriously, and we work very hard to action the things that we can to make our platform a better place. First and foremost, I'm aware that what's important is that we provide you with great protection from fraudulent buying behavior. And there are fraudulent buyers, unfortunately, who do shop online, and we need to make sure that we give you the toolkits that you can to protect you from that behavior. We've listened carefully, and earlier this year in June, we extended the availability of some of our tools, our partial refund tools, to all above standard and all top-rated sellers. And so everyone now has access to that platform in those customer groups. And that enables you to take a better set of actions when items are returned to you in a condition that isn't suitable or isn't appropriate. In addition, you can report a buyer when they've significantly not as described an item, which doesn't meet the conditions that you sent it out in, and then we'll credit you for postage labels and give you credit back on fees if that action is deemed inappropriate on behalf of the buyer. We know that we've got more to do, but we take it very seriously, and your feedback is heard loud and clear. So thank you for your inputs on those topics. And last but not least on that, we'll make sure that your seller standards are protected. If I then move on, let's talk about some of the ways that we've invested to give more programs like this and get out in front of you and give the support that we need. I also understand the eBay platform isn't always as simple and easy to use as it needs to be. Last year, as a team, I took the decision to invest just over £6 million in the UK to put a bunch of support programs in place so that we could help you better. We've launched the eBay Academy, which content is now rolling out across the platform, and I encourage you, if you haven't, to take a look at some of that information that's out there. Our Pro Trader program and our Startup Scale-Up program. Now, some of that terminology might be new to some of you, and some of it might be familiar. Over 8,000 sellers have benefited from our Pro Trader program, and we have a waitlist and the ability to indicate your interest in going into a 90-day, one-to-one, personalized service program to support your business. And we hope that that will give you a kickstart for you. For those of you that are newer to the platform, we have our Startup and Scale-Up program. And so when you come into eBay, we understand it can be a bit intimidating, it can be technically quite difficult to know what are the tricks to give my business the best velocity it can. So do talk to the team today to find out a bit more about those programs as well. Last but not least, as I said, I understand the current trading environment is thought-provoking, to say the least. And as we go into the peak trading environment, there are a bunch of things that we think we can help prepare ourselves and yourselves for this coming 3 months. I hope that some of you were able to take part in our peak trading webinar, which ran last Wednesday, I think it was. We had about 1,500 of you joining us online for that event. And as part of that, we've launched a suite of promotional offers and incentives to help get your inventory up onto the platform and then get that inventory boosted and promoted in social media channels. If you haven't got that information, do speak to one of the team today and find out more about what we've been up to and more about how to make most of those incentives, which are running on a regular basis between now and December to give your business the best kick that it can as we go into the peak trading period. So do make sure you get some time to talk to the team. Now let's talk a bit more about what we've been up to on the eBay side, aside from just some of these pieces around coaching and support. And there's a bunch of things that I was up on stage last year in Salford talking to you some about programs that had just launched, and there are lots of things that we're excited to talk about. There have been three things that we talked about last year. We talked about the eBay Authenticity Program, eBay Fulfillment, and then, last but not least, the Capital for eBay Business Sellers. So let's take each one of those in turn. Authenticity Guarantee we launched as a boost on top of our money-back guarantee program. So it launched in sneakers in June last year. We expanded it to handbags and then watches, and then you should expect to see that program roll out to an extended series of categories in the UK in the next 12 months. Why have we done it? It builds high confidence between sellers and high confidence with buyers to make transactions at much higher value and make sure both parties are protected. And it brought a broader kind of movement in online shopping for people to make transactions of very specific types of items. It's not suitable in every category, but it is suitable in a bunch of categories. And as I said, we've seen phenomenal results actually in terms of how that's enabled us to show up and grow segments of the online market, which were not growing at the rate that they should have been and were kind of underpenetrated. Secondly, eBay Fulfillment. We now run... I love that excitement. I mean, bring it on. Are you on stage next doing the kind of the talk session about that? Brilliant. So eBay Fulfillment. It's an amazing program that we've got to take away the fulfillment pressure from you as individuals so that you can focus on how do I source the inventory that I think is going to sell best and how do I focus on the marketing tools. We're now running that program across Germany, Australia, Italy, and the UK. And then we have 4 fulfillment centers running in the UK, which are enabling us to make sure we can fulfill those items and take those service metrics away. Do talk to the team today about how we can help you with some of those fulfillment solutions as a way to grow and expand your business, and as I said, get the focus on where you need it to be. Last but not least, Capital for eBay Business. I was particularly passionate about this topic, and the reason it was on my mind was before we launched the program, we went and spoke to a bunch of you on eBay and a bunch of sellers who weren't on eBay. And the stats were pretty stark. And I'm just going to quote 2 statistics for you today. Over half of the businesses that we spoke to before we launched had been refused or declined access to capital in the previous 12 months. So you saw an opportunity to grow, but because of the status of many of you and the way that the financial services industry treats small businesses, you hadn't had access to the capital. More surprising for me, 10% of you had gone out and remortgaged your homes to get access to money because you saw a business opportunity. And for me, that just isn't suitable. And one of the ways that eBay can work better is using the size of the platform and the influence that we can have to get partners that come to the fore and provide services that you need. Since we launched, you have borrowed collectively in the UK over £70 million. Nearly 4,500 of you have benefited from that program. There are approval rates of over 70%. And most compellingly for me, if I compare the businesses that have borrowed and a comparable group of businesses of a similar size with a similar structure in similar categories, those that have borrowed are growing and selling 26% more than those that didn't borrow. So hopefully there are teams that you can, if there's kind of something, a situation you find yourself in, there's an opportunity for access to capital, do talk to some of the team today. And ULend, our partner who works with us on that, will be there to support you and think about, is this the right solution for you if access to capital is something for you to consider. Last but not least, there are a bunch of other ways that we're thinking about how we innovate the business. We've done a lot of this work to show up better with consumers in considering the world of fashion and how we show up in fashion. And the reason that we're doing these pieces in individual categories is each category needs to be shaken up and worked on in different ways. Now, circular fashion and the green economy and how consumers think about buying fashion is massively at the forefront of what customers care about and what buyers in particular care about. Our highest profile manifestation was the Love Island partnership. We've moved on with Secondhand September. But most importantly, we're trying to shift the dialogue in the UK about how consumers think about fashion. And when you bring customers in, then they think about buying in a broad range of categories, and that's what's at the forefront of our mind. And what's great about those programs, particularly in fashion, is it relies on work with you as a small business selling community. All of the work we do in pre-loved fashion is powered by small businesses like you who unlock the opportunity for big brands and customers. ACS Reskinned and Sole Responsibility, I think one of you three at least is represented in the room today, are amazing small business partners that work with us to unlock that. And so if you've got a great business idea and you see an opportunity, we love to work with you as a small business community to really shift and radically change the way that supply chains work and unlock new opportunities for growth. I talked about fashion doing well. Pre-loved fashion is doing pre-loved fashion is doing particularly well, and that's a way that we can think about it. And let's just future gaze for a moment. In the last few months, we announced the acquisition of Known Origin. Now, Known Origin is a non-fungible token marketplace based in Manchester. Now, some of you might be scratching your heads and saying, what's an NFT? I'm definitely learning myself, and for some of you, that's going to be familiar language and familiar territory. I'll be excited to come back in due course and share with you some of the plans we've got about how working on Web3 in the world of non-fungible tokens will help the way that eBay operates as a marketplace and keep us at the forefront. And I hope to be able to introduce the Known Origin team on stage to talk about some exciting innovations that are happening in that space, particularly in some categories that are highly relevant. So, moving on. Firstly, thank you again for the feedback that you've given us. Let's take a look forward at some of the things that we've got coming up and are about to announce. These are all based on feedback that you've given us and where we need to improve our game. We've made some of the following changes around protecting your business. You will have recently seen the rollouts of better ways to protect businesses from fraudulent account activity with the need to multi-factor authenticate. Incredibly important in ensuring core protections for your business. Secondly, there are a bunch of enhancements that we're making to protections that I talked about in terms of how to deal with your business, and then that you still have access through the roadshows to access a number of financial grants that we're making, a total of £1 million in grants that we're making in the UK to support education and training and to help you kickstart your business on the platform. And just to repeat, I talked about the Pro Trader program. 8,000 of you have now benefited from it. We are looking and willing and to engage with more of you to help you to support that program, so do talk to some of the team today. We are next week announcing our next seller release, and so spoiler alert, I'm going to give you some of the highlights that are coming up in our seller release. First and foremost, we'll be introducing some enhancements to the stores proposition, and Sam will be in one of the individual rooms talking about what's happening in stores. We see that as a key part of our proposition for how you showcase your brand and build your brand. Stores was an unloved part of our platform. We weren't doing a good enough job. We've got a long way to go, but we think we're making some steps in the right direction based on the feedback that you're giving us. Stores will have videos included, and we're also adding videos to listings so that you can showcase your inventory in some different ways. And then another part of the seller release is going to be buyer messaging. I don't know how many of you have already been in the buyer messaging, the seller buyer messaging trial with a threaded drive. For me, the old messaging system felt a bit like Web 1.0 1985. I'm thrilled to see a more modern interface which enables much better and faster interaction between buyer and seller. So do take a look out for the seller update coming out next week. There are some more pieces in there, and I hope that that's of interest to all of you. As we go into next year, we know that there's more that we need to do to evolve. So do grab me, grab any of the team today wearing our T-shirts to talk a little bit about your thoughts and your insights in what you need to do. Last night, I was just on a call with our chief executive, Jamie Iannone. He was talking about some of the ways that we need to improve our platform and looking for insight and feedback. And it's that kind of interaction, that live discussion that he's very willing to hear. He's very passionate about our product. His ears are open, and we know that we've got a lot to do. Our marketplace advisors here are today to grab that feedback as well. So if you don't speak to don't speak to me or Fergus, do give that feedback to the marketplace advisors, because it all gets fed into our system. Next year, we're going to be out on the road even more, so expect an expansion of some of the ways that we've been interacting with you this year and talking to you about some of the new innovations that we're bringing out in the categories that we're launching. Fergus, oh God, I didn't know that photo was there. That's shocking. Fergus talked about the eBay Awards. At the end of the day, we got the eBay Awards. And the eBay Awards are yes, they're to celebrate those individual businesses and the amazing achievements. It's also to celebrate all of you. And I do hope that you get the chance to stay and talk with us and celebrate some of the amazing achievements that you've had, but also some of the individuals that are going to be up on stage. So I'm very much looking forward to that, number one. Number two, before we get there, you're going to see a bunch of content around climate change and around cross-border trade. Climate change is on the mind of consumers. It's on your mind and how you run your businesses. And we're bringing on some expertise to talk about some things to think about there. And cross-border trade has been difficult since Brexit. I definitely see it in my numbers. European cross-border trade is very difficult in the current trading environment. How are the ways that we can help you think about maximizing those opportunities? Before we get there, Eve, our marketing director for UK, and along with some of the team, will be talking to you about the brilliant things that we've been doing to show up better and have impact with buyers, so that buyers think about eBay first and foremost to bring them to see your inventory on the platform. And then Sarah, our small business director, will be here talking a little bit about what we've been up to support some of your businesses, and then bringing some of you on stage to share your own experiences to bring that to life. So I hope that you find those fulfilling and engaging. So I hope there's sessions for all of you. I hope you have a fun and engaging day. Thank you so much for listening to me so attentively and politely. And I love the whoop on fulfillment. That made me really happy. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to catching up with you all later. And now it's time for me to welcome Eve to the stage. Thank you very much, everybody.